Hi guys, happy April, and welcome to our very first live stream of April 2018. Woo! I'm excited to be back again today after taking a couple weeks off to deal with some family issues and household issues. So again, so excited to be back here today. And today we're going to be talking about how to plan and run staff appreciation events that they'll absolutely love. And before I dive right into that, I want to make sure that I fully acknowledge anybody who is watching today that might be new to the group and that this is their first time watching the live stream. So if you are brand new, go ahead and just type new into the comments so I can acknowledge you. That would be great. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I want to make sure that you have downloaded this fantastic resource that I've put together for you. I know so many people have, but so many more people haven't, and I just don't want people to miss the boat on this. So make sure you go ahead and grab the parent engagement toolkit that I've put together. It's free, and you can snag it at bit.ly/PTO tools. So that's bit.ly/PTO tools, and it's all lowercase. So if you haven't had a chance to download that yet, go ahead and do it right now, or write down the address because I don't want you to forget to do it. What have I been up to? Well, last night I had a strategic planning meeting at the Board of Education, and I had not yet gotten to Target to get the Easter candy that's always on sale. So I made a point of doing that because I'm in charge of staff appreciation for 2 different buildings this year. Again, totally my choice. I'd love to do it, and I never, ever, ever want the staff to think that they're not appreciated, and I don't want someone to kind of half-ass it, if you know what I mean. So I'd rather just do it myself. And even though every year I say, I leave it open and don't say I'm going to do it, and don't immediately sign up to do it, inevitably it usually ends up being me. And the last couple of years for the upper elementary school, it totally has been me. And I like to do it. So it's really not a complaint. I'm just saying it's on me. And so I went to Target to get the discounted Easter candy for the teachers because I always make these little cute bags with candy. And this year I have something super cute planned, and I already have all of the supplies. So I'm going to start putting them together, I think in the next couple of days, and I'll share them with you guys, because I think it's something really easy that you can do that I think is really thoughtful, and it can come from your PTA or your PTO as a group, or it can come from you individually. And especially if you're going to be doing it individually for each of your children's teachers and specialists, so inexpensive. So what I ended up doing last night, I forget how many bags of candy I bought, but I may have gotten some stares at the checkout line at Target, because this one lady, she just looked at me and her eyes got so big, and I went, this is not all for me. I'm not going to eat all this. And she goes, oh, no judgment at all. And because I had, oh gosh, close to 20. I spent $130 on candy, and that was after 30% off and no tax. So that is a lot of candy. And I always get the stares because, again, I do this every year. But this year it was just kind of funny because even the cashier was like, ooh, this is a lot of candy. It took up the entire conveyor belt. But we have, between the 2 schools, about 100 teachers. So you need a lot of candy to make cute little candy bags. So more on that later. And if you want to see exactly how much candy I got, you can go find PTO Answers on Instagram, because I am going to start getting more active on Instagram and not necessarily sharing everything right into the group. So if you're going to want to see what I'm doing there, you'll have to follow me on Instagram. So again, it's PTO Answers, all one word. So you can check it out there. So anyway, okay, let's dive right on into this. So I know everyone is not as excited about planning staff appreciation events than as I am. And oh, Rachel is saying hi from Missouri. Hi, Rachel. I'm so glad to see that you're here. So yeah, not everybody like geeks out over this. I know it can be like big time stressful, because especially if you've not done a staff appreciation event before. I remember my very first time, like the biggest stressor for me was like, how much food to serve, right? Because it's always an issue. And for me, I'm always like an over planner where like I always have way more food than can possibly be eaten. But when I'm buying it and preparing it, it always seems very reasonable. But then it never turns out that way. It's always like there's way too much. But when I'm throwing a party, I would way rather have way too much than too little. And so, yeah, but that was like a huge stressor because it wasn't my own money that I could be potentially wasting. It could be, because if, you know, that's one thing if it's my own thing. But if I'm buying the stuff on behalf of the PTA, I want to be more cognizant about what I'm buying and be a better steward of that money, right? So that I'm just not wasting it. Because if we have so much money, so much food that's left over, then it's that the teachers might take it home, but then that's less that I could do something else fun with that money, right? So you really want to be targeted in. So that was one stressor. Just coming up with like a cute idea. I don't know if you've checked out Pinterest. I don't know who hasn't checked out Pinterest, but there are a gajillion and one ideas on Pinterest. And so it can be really overwhelming to try to come up with something that you don't think has been like totally done before that the teachers would actually enjoy. And so one theme I gotta tell you that you absolutely need to stay away from are apples. Teachers are so over apples, it's not even funny. They might say it's okay, but really they prefer anything but apples. I have a principal friend, she's actually now a retired principal friend, but I was showing her a concept of something and it was apple themed. And she actually made the barf face where she's just like, blah, blah. Like, Christina, don't do that. We're so over apples. So go with something other than apples. But if you're overwhelmed with all of the choices, again, check out PTO Answers on Pinterest. I'm on there, and I have collected a whole bunch of different ideas for staff appreciation. So that's a really good starting point. The second point I want to make is just to keep it simple. When you're planning these events, yes, it can be overwhelming, but it's only overwhelming if you let it be. So if you are not, if you're making it like so involved and so complex and so reliant on other people instead of just kind of keeping it simple and within your own control. So for the last couple of years, like I said, I've been doing the luncheon at the upper elementary school. There's about 60, 65 staff members there. And the very first year I got, I think, what did I do? I got different kind of rolled sandwiches. So I got different veggies, vegan kind, meat kind, a whole different sample. So that required figuring out like the accurate number to get. And then I also had to get all of the different sides. So at the time I didn't have a Costco membership. And so I had to bum a ride to Costco with my friend, and she bought everything. She was also a PTA member, so it was no big deal. She just submitted the receipts for reimbursement. But it was a little more complicated, right? Because I had to coordinate schedules with her. And so I had to get all the sides, I had to get all the paper products, I had to get all the drinks and the dessert. I figure all of that out. And the teachers really appreciated it because in the years past that really not very much had been done, I think, or it was just like our barbecue buffet and that's all they got. But I like to do several things. But anyways, I had done the sandwiches for like 2 years and I was like, this is a lot of work. It's just a lot of coordination because I was then relying on the sandwich people to show up on time and I was kind of worried about that. And so last year I was like, I'm feeling like it's all too much. Like it's just all too much. And they decided to have the teacher luncheon the day after school ended, which is great, except for then I had my 2 little boogers at home, right? They weren't in school because school was over. So that was something I had to plan around and actually had to bring my kids to this event. So what I ended up doing was just, I ordered a whole bunch of pizza and like I got a party pack from a local pizzeria, and it's a place that does like gourmet pizzas. So they weren't just like straight out pepperoni pizzas. They were like different kinds of pizzas. And the teachers loved it. Like I kind of felt like I was punting. Like I was just, because I had so much going on, I was like, fine, I'll just get pizza. They stinking loved it. And I was surprised at the feedback. and how much they loved it. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be super intricate. Like, you can keep it simple. They will still appreciate it. And they appreciated it so much. I'm totally doing the pizza again this year at that school. And I'm also going to do it at the other school that I'm doing the staff appreciation event for. So, because it just went over so stinking well. And I was shocked, but happily so, because it was really easy, because the pizzeria brought everything: plates, cutlery, salad dressing, like everything. It was awesome. So if your PTO does not have the funds to be putting on a pizza buffet or like a luncheon, where you're just straight up getting it catered or purchasing it from somewhere, because in my area, in the Cleveland area, that costs about $650. So for about 65 people. So not inexpensive, not terribly expensive. I think the year before, with the sandwiches and all the sides from Costco, I was spending closer to $800 or $850. Just so you know. But if you don't have those kind of funds, you can always ask for donations from parents. And this can work really well if you have super responsible and dependable parents who actually bring in food, but just know that not all families eat the same way. So for example, the one year that I wasn't doing staff appreciation at the lower elementary school, I went in at lunch in between, because the lunch periods at the school were between 11 o'clock and 1. So I was going in, I think, a little bit before noon to kind of just make sure everything was refilled and still looking pretty for the next group of teachers who was coming through. And I noticed that after the first lunch period for the teachers, there was very little food left. And the person who had been organizing it had 7 children. So I don't really understand how she didn't realize that this wouldn't be enough food, but it totally wasn't. So I had to go out and run and get extra food real quick, and it was super stressful for me. But just be mindful of that you're gonna, if you're asking for donations, you need to be very specific on how many servings you're requesting. So you can't just say provide a bowl of pasta salad, because the bowl could be this big or the bowl could be this big. And if you have a large staff, you're going to want this much pasta salad. This much is just not going to cut it. If you just have like a very, I'll turn my hands so you can see better. If you just have a very, 4 cups of pasta salad, that's not going to cut it. So you have to be very specific. The other place you can look for donations is from local businesses. Local businesses love to support teachers in schools. It's a way for them to get their foot in the door and potentially get more business. So you can go to the sub shop or maybe a small bakery and say, hey, would you like to either give me a discount, or can I get a discount, or would you like to make a donation for this staff appreciation event? I will make sure that your flyers are out and your business cards are out, and everybody knows that you have donated these delicious brownies. You will get a really good response if they're getting something in return like that. And yeah, because local businesses just love to support schools. It's never been a problem. The fourth thing that I highly recommend that you do, and that I think can really make or break an event, is that you need to effectively communicate that you're having the specific event. Like, you do not want to be planning the event on the day when half of the 3rd grade is out on a field trip. Like, no. So you want to schedule it correctly, and then you want to make sure that the teachers know about it. That's been an issue in the past. Again, not when I've been running it, because I always make sure I just make a little like 1-page flyer / invitation, and I make enough copies for every copier in the building. And then I just post it on the bulletin board above the copier, or I tape it to the wall by the copier, because that's teachers go there. So I make sure to let all of the teachers know when the event is, so that they can plan to enjoy the luncheon or enjoy the event. If it's a breakfast, I make sure to let them know that that's coming up. But again, you could do personalized little invitations where everybody gets one. I have done that in the past, but it's a heck of a lot easier just to do one big, an 8.5 by 11 flyer saying, hey, you're invited to the staff appreciation luncheon. It's going to be held in this room from this time to this time, just making it really clear so there's no questions. Because the whole point is to appreciate them. And if they don't know what's happening and they can't attend, then they're not going to feel very appreciated. In fact, they might feel kind of like left out, and maybe it was done on purpose that you didn't want to include the third grade teachers who were on the field trip for whatever reason. I don't know. People get a little crazy, as you know, sometimes. So just, make sure that they know it. Oh, some bonus things. I have little notes here, but I didn't remember. I didn't number them. The other thing you can do to plan like outstanding events, and this could be like luncheons or like you're revealing something that you bought for them. In the past, I bought a Cricut for the teachers because they had like an old Ellison manual die cut machine, and I was like, it's taken up a lot of time, and technology has advanced to the point where we have these other options. So I asked the teachers if they would be interested in something like that, and they're like, yeah, that would be a really cool idea. So I bought them the Cricut machine, and then I also got them several cartridges. But then I also held training sessions on like how to use the Cricut, because some of the teachers were really put off by even like they knew how the manual die cutter worked, but they weren't really sure about how the electronic one worked, and I wanted them to use this gift. That's the whole point. So again, when I revealed the Cricut to them, I put a little sign for the people who weren't there when I went, ta-da, here you go, here's your fabulous gift. I put a little note on it that said, new Cricut courtesy of Sunview PTA. So that was really nice. The other thing you can think about when doing an event or doing something for staff appreciation, ask them what they want, or ask them what would make their job easier. Like we had one year, we had like an awesome teacher rep. She's like my most favorite teacher ever, even though my children never had her, but I just have like a really good relationship with her now, and we're actually buddies. But I had, when she was a teacher rep, I said, hey, can you just ask the teachers to make like a wish list, and know that we probably can't do everything on the wish list, but just put it on there, because if they didn't ask for it, then we wouldn't know they wanted it. So some of the ideas, I don't remember any of the ideas being like too crazy. One of the ones that we went, that's interesting, but we're not going to do it, is a Keurig back. And this was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago when Keurigs were like way more of a new thing and not many people had them. But they wanted a Keurig machine because they wanted on-demand fresh coffee and tea. So we actually didn't get them a Keurig that year, but it was just interesting to see what they said. And another thing that somebody else did last year for that school was they brought in like a farmer's market and brought in fresh produce, where it was all laid out in the staff lounge on the table, and the teachers got to pick like 10 items or 5 items or a set amount of items and got to take home a bag full of fresh produce. Again, not something that you necessarily think of being like a staff appreciation gift or event, but the teachers loved it. Super thoughtful, super simple. So just keep that in mind when you're planning these events. They don't have to be intricate. They don't have to be super involved. Simple is good. Teachers love simple. They don't have time for complicated. None of us have time for complicated. So keep those things in mind. So it looks, I don't think anybody has any questions. Nobody's typed anything in, so that means I have done a bang up job of this topic. And let me flip to next week, because I have notes for next week what I'm going to talk about, just to let you know. Oh, yes. Next week, I'm going to be talking all about how to avoid burnout at this point of the year. So how to avoid end of the year burnout. I'm not feeling especially burnt out, but I know other people have to be, because it's happened to me in the past. But this year I'm in a good place so far. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about next week. If you want to rewatch this video, of course, it's going to be available in the group, and very shortly it'll be available on PTO Answers YouTube channel, which is also something new that I've recently started. So what's really awesome about the YouTube channel is that I've taken all of these Facebook Lives and I have made sure to note the topics so that you can search in the channel, in the video list of like exactly what you want, whatever topic that you're interested in learning more about. You don't have to watch the entire video because I detail out what I'm talking about in the video. So kind of nice little feature that I've added to the group. So with that, I am going to say goodbye, and I will see you next week. And if you, I'll hang out in the group right now for a little bit. So if we want to chat about staff appreciation stuff, because I get all nerdy about that. So I'll be in the group for a while, and I'll see you there. And I will see you next week, right here at 1 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. So until then, take care. Bye-bye.